Let me tell you about this guy.
I'll tell you about this fucker right here.
Yeah.
So, Mike.
So, Brandon. Hey, we found some junk files.
You midlife crisis once.
Yeah, so we're just gonna jump right into that.
Yeah, I wanna know because I don't think it was on the recording, but last time when we were talking about the quarter life crisis thing, you said that you planned your midlife crisis.
I did plan my midlife crisis.
And I don't know if that actually qualifies as a crisis if you plan it, but I'm curious. I want to know more about my future, right? What I'm looking forward to.
All right. So you want to know how my midlife crisis went down?
Well, I guess let's start with what is a midlife crisis?
Okay. So a midlife crisis is when you get to that point in your life. It's approximate halfway point based on
Your guess.
Yeah, your person's life expectancy, average life expectancy. Like, we can say that, we're going to die somewhere between 70 and 90, right? That's pretty common. Nobody's surprised, oh my God, he was only 90, right? So you get into that 35 to 45-year-old range and you start thinking back on your life.
Okay.
And you feel like you're kind of running out of time. So a woman has a biological clock that says, get pregnant now, get pregnant now.
Right.
Get pregnant. Guys have this midlife crisis where it's like, have I accomplished what I thought I would accomplish?
Yeah, and different to the quarter life crisis, which is more about, oh no, what am I going to do for my future in the next 6 months, whatever the case may be. Midlife is more like, oh no, what have I done? I haven't gotten to anywhere.
Yeah, what have I done or what I have not done?
Right.
Exactly. The future, we're pretty solid on a set path, typically. There's always exceptions, but typically we are on a path. We've been on it for a little while.
Right.
And then we start to reminisce like, gosh, I remember when I was 12 years old, I wanted to be a professional football player. I remember when I was 16 years old, I expected to have $12 million by now. And
here I am watching football on the couch eating Cheetos that I bought with my last $5.
Are you sitting in a beanbag chair naked eating Cheetos?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you feel compelled to give us $10,000 for the church? Oh, for a minute, I thought they were talking about me. That's a Ron White joke, by the way. So,
gotcha.
So that's what that midlife crisis is. You really kind of go back and you start to evaluate your life. And are you happy? Are you doing the things that you thought you would be doing? Are you the person you thought you would be?
Yeah. And I'm guessing most of the crisis comes from, I'm not any of those things that I thought I would be doing. Oh, no.
Yeah, I mean, because, you're 18 years old and you're thinking, oh, yeah, there's going to be Dan going to have the Corvette, the blonde, and blah, blah, blah. And so when you're 40 years old, you're going, I didn't get the Corvette and the blonde. I haven't done that yet, right? Meanwhile, the missus is really not keen on that idea. So, but that's the stereotype, Old dude, Corvette, he's trying to, accommodate, if you will.
And the midlife crisis person for the stereotype is always for some reason like 60 to 65. Like they're gonna live to 120. They're always like older.
So here's the problem with that, right? He looks 60 to 65, but he's really only 42. But he's been married for 10 years.
Gotcha.
And so he prematurely ages.
Yeah.
But so it's the white guy, receding hairline, yarmulke bald spot, driving the Corvette and looking for that 23-year-old blonde because they're the only one dumb enough to go out with them.
Right. So, they want a sugar daddy. He wants a blonde. So.
Exactly. Right. So that's the stereotype. So when I went through mine and I was looking back at the things that I used to want to do and I didn't accomplish and that kind of stuff, I thought of some things. And so I went to my wife at the time and I told her, I said, so I've decided that I'm going through my midlife crisis now. And So I have some options, and I want to give you the chance to chime in on it.
Okay.
I was like, so one of the things I was doing in high school and post high school was getting into film.
Okay.
I mean, I was with an agency, and I was just too immature to really succeed in film at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And
look at you now.
it's still not succeeding in film. And so I said I could do that, or I can buy a Corvette and find a 25-year-old blonde. And so she chose the film part.
I was hoping you would say Corvette and blonde.
And so my midlife crisis was really about me exploring working in film.
Okay.
And I became a hobbyist and that kind of stuff. And I wrote a screenplay, a short film, and produced it and that kind of stuff. So I would say I had a successful midlife crisis.
Thing to say. Yeah.
But it's also, I'm about to be 54. And to a certain degree, I don't think I'm past it yet.
Gotcha.
You know, there's still things I look back and it's transformed a little bit, and maybe I'm approaching an end of life crisis, and just kind of like one blends into the other. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to do an end of life crisis in the future, but I just think that has something to do with plugging in and unplugging machines.
When you're 70, we'll record a new episode of End of Life Crisis. We'll ask you how you're doing.
I still was like, I'm looking at a change in how I interact with people, a change in purpose. Before I used to interact with people more to direct or to get things that I want to help me be successful. And now I'm at that stage where I'm interacting with people with a focus on helping them be successful.
Okay.
And understanding that their success will equate to my success. So there's a certain maturity that happened in this midlife crisis thing. And I think it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
But
yeah, because the stereotypical is like someone actually having a crisis about it. Whereas yours just sounds like, okay, there's still these things that I want to do, so I'm just going to do them, but they don't sound as crazy as like, oh, I'm going to buy that Corvette and cheat on my wife and have the blonde and all that fun shit.
Well, I did get into professional wrestling, hence Luka Daniels.
Right.
So there's Luka Daniels, Reno Royce, there's AJ Frost, a Luke Fury, there was a Zay Vega, there is Squeaks the Clown, there's Aaron McClure.
It's sounding more and more ridiculous. These names sound more and more made up as you start going down.
There's Chris James. So I did independent professional wrestling, and I still dabble in it. But I'm away from all the people that I knew when I was working in professional wrestling.
Right.
And no, I was not a professional wrestler body slamming people or being body slammed. I was a manager of wrestlers. So basically my gimmick was, you know, all that punching stuff. I have people for that.
Right.
But I still do that, but it's even then there's still a real piece of the real me where I'm there. And even though I'm a gimmick manager, I was also a real life coach for a lot of these people, and trying to help them become successful in their careers. I'm 50 years old. I'm not going to have a professional wrestling career. I'm not getting signed by WWE anytime soon. So, but these 16, 18, 22-year-old kids, they have a shot.
Right.
So, but yeah, if you want the typical what's outlandish, you know, midlife crisis, I think you just go to this wrestling thing. And so, oh yeah, that looks like a midlife crisis.
Some 50-year-old out there with a bunch of dudes trying to tell them what to do.
Dudes wearing spandex,
right?
You know, tights,
right?
Getting hot, sweaty, crawling over on top of each other.
Yeah, exactly. That's your midlife crisis.
Yeah,
that's the real one.
Good times, good times.
Yeah. Speaking of a crisis, we're having a crisis of subscribers and followers. So please like, comment, and subscribe. Give us suggestions. If you're in your 40s and 50s, tell us about your midlife crisis if you've had one. If you haven't had one yet, I'm a little concerned because that means you already did and you're going to die really young. Or you might be one of the lucky few.
And if you don't like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, I'm going to either send Tiny Joe. I might send Luka Daniels. Somebody's coming to get you.
One of his slam buddies is
Yeah.
coming to get you. The kind of slamming they do, you will not like.
I should get the slam buddy of me and put it out here.
Yeah. So interesting. I try to think about, like, when you talk about your midlife crisis, like what mine looks like from now. Like, I try to think about the things that I thought about when I was 12 to 20 or whatever the case is, and what I haven't done yet, and am I going to do them before I hit 40 or 50, and if not, am I going to freak out about it?
I would be surprised if you freaked out about anything, just knowing your personality. I'm kind of impressed with you, if you want to be honest. All right.
You're gonna make me blush.
Because you're fairly well squared away, and when, adversity is thrown at you, you do find a way of working through the solution rather than getting decimated by the panic. And so that is so important. And your mom, your grandmother, they must have done good work with you. All right.
They did. We've talked about this before on the podcast, but my mom was that type of person. Like, I know that there were definitely moments where, like, things were really difficult, and she would cry behind closed doors type of thing. But she was one of those people that was like, I'm only gonna sulk for maybe a night at the most, and then I'm back at it with solutions to the problem or just pushing through it. So she was that type of person, and so I think a lot of that comes from her, because I'm very similar in that way, where it's like, sulk about it for a little bit, great, okay, time to move on. What's next? I don't like to sit because it does nothing for me. So
the scary part, I think, for the midlife crisis, and this part that the wives are scared about, is at some point in time, you're going to look over at your wife and you're going to ask yourself, was this the best that I could do? And how you answered that question may determine the degree of chaos you have with your midlife crisis.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense, because I'm sure that happens all the time. That's where the whole stereotype of the blonde thing comes in, because people feel like they could do better.
But it's also a check of your virility. It's I'm aging and I'm seeing, like, you watch college football, right? And you like to see these 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds doing these things. And, if you have a kid in junior high school, and you're watching them perform, and you're thinking back to when you're that age, and then you start wondering, can I still perform like I did in high school?
Right.
Can I still do this? Can I still get the hot girl? Can I still do these things? And there is no real answer to that question unless you try it.
Right.
And that's where problems happen, is when you decide to try it.
Yeah. Oh, and that makes sense. I don't, I obviously cannot say for certain what I will be like when I'm 40. However, I've seen girls at that age. I'm good. That's okay. I can say right now that I'm good.
Okay.
There's a lot of crazy people out there. And
There are
just getting worse.
It is. And I'm telling you, if you have a good woman that brings you peace, and she's happy when you come home, there is not anyone on a beauty chart that is worth giving that up.
Yeah. Yeah. Too many people give up the 90% of what they have for the 10% that they want.
But there comes a point in time, like, you're still baby faced. All right. And there's going to come a point in time where your face will mature and the baby face will go away, and you'll have a look about you. You'll have a distinction. And that distinction is going to be attractive to women. All right. And you either know yourself and say, I am a weak man when it comes to women, or you know yourself and say, I'm a strong man when it comes to women. All right. For me, I've leaned more towards, I don't want to put myself in a position where I have to make that decision.
Right.
So I might be around, like with film, you're going to be around good looking women, but I'm not around those good looking women by myself.
Right.
You know, and so there's conscious decisions that
You're
make.
putting yourself in a place of accountability,
Right.
regardless of the situation.
Exactly. I will be tempted, right? Because all guys are tempted. It's the decisions that they make based upon that temptation. And if you put yourself in a position where you're tempted, but there's not a possibility of doing anything about it, it's a lot easier to just,
Yeah, and that probably, honestly, that's probably a big part of the midlife crisis is the temptation of all of it, right? Because most guys that are in that situation, not just about women, but in general, now have, typically more money than they did when they were a kid. All of these things that they didn't have and all of the access to funds and things that they didn't have. So they could make a stupid decision and they technically have the funds there typically to do so. It may completely wreck everything else in their life, but they have the funds there like, oh, now I can do this. Now the temptation is there, but I actually have the money to afford it. I'm not staring at it from my TV eating ramen noodles this time around.
So one of the undiscussed benefits of money and wealth is the confidence, right? When you have $100 billion, you have a lot of confidence. You say anything you damn well please, because what's going to happen? You're going to cancel me? I have $100 billion.
Right.
You can't cancel me, right? And one of the single most attractive things women find in a man is confidence. So now you're going to start walking around with confidence because you are in a financially stable and financial plus state. I mean, they're looking at 23-year-old men who are just now graduating in their entry level of their career, and they're comparing it to a guy that's mid-career, solid ground, already making money, right? So you're going to have an attraction, right? And then that experience, you're going to have that confidence, you're going to have a little bit more riz than you had when you're 18. Yeah, see, I remember from the earlier podcast.
This episode's over.
See, I've been planning that.
Downhill.
I've been planning the use of that word for a while now.
Risen with the tism.
So, but you're going to have that, and so you do have the possibility, and there might be something in the back of your mind saying, I wonder if I could still pull the hot chick. Or if you've never been able to pull a hot chick, you may wonder, I wonder if I can pull the hot chick, right? And there's a temptation there.
Yeah, and that's where people get in trouble.
Yeah, and so that's what you have to look forward to. So when your wife pisses you off and you're angry, just stay at home. Don't go out to a bar or anything.
That's okay. I don't like them anyways.
Because that's when the hot chick's going to arrive. And the last thing you want to do is be mad at the wife when the hot chick shows up.
Yeah, well, that makes it easy because I don't like any of those things anyways already. So, yeah.
Well, be at the condo, go and sleep, go for a walk, hit the pool, and there she is.
Have you noticed either of us going to this pool out here? We've both already lived this life, and there is no going out to the pool or anything like that. I'm going to be 50 already in my wheelchair, just fucking rolling around.
You're going to be at the coffee shop.
Yeah.
Drinking your decaf. Drinking your decaf life away.
Yeah, my decaf life away. Yeah.
And then strolls the...
Fuck no, my wife's Latina. There will be no escaping.
You have to deal with the whole family.
Yeah, exactly. She already has my testicles in a jar about that. Right.
Have you ever heard of the phrase a Puerto Rican necktie?
Mm-mm.
That's funny. I just don't know if I can say it on the podcast.
Well, you could say it if we gotta cut it.
Okay.
They'll know. They'll
So when
notice.
I was growing up, we had this thing we called it a Puerto Rican necktie. And it's
Mhm.
probably still a thing. It's when you piss off a Puerto Rican, typically a Puerto Rican woman, by
Mhm.
cheating on her with her sister or something. And she slits your throat and pulls your tongue out through the slit in the throat. Puerto Rican necktie.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I think that's fine. Sure.
Okay.
It doesn't,
We probably don't have any Puerto Ricans watching this, so we're good.
we don't have anybody watching it, so we're probably fine. Oh, that's fine. Why are you giving my wife ideas, though? She's not Puerto Rican, but she might steal that one.
Oh. Well, maybe we could come up with she's Mexican.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Mexican something, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. They don't even have a name for it. That's how terrible it is. No one has lived to come up with a name for it. Oh. Well, I think that's okay. I mean, I'm not a super like braggy person, but I don't anticipate there being a insane midlife crisis for myself.
Well, let's think about it right now. Okay, so when you were 22 years old,
Mhm.
what were your aspirations?
When I was 22, that was when I just started my career.
Mhm.
Around that time, end of 21, 22. That was when I just started my career. And that's when I just moved to Arizona. So at that time, honestly, just being fully transparent, my aspirations were I just want to meet people out here. Because I'm 2,000 miles away from where I just came from. No friends, no family out there. Don't know any of these coworkers out there. Just kind of jumped on a limb. So my aspirations then were very, they were at the bottom of that, that wellness pyramid or whatever, where you got to have like friends and a social life and whatever. And like, you got to meet all these things before you could reach the higher.
You still had bigger dreams.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, so I would say my biggest dream was just to, at that time, was just to do well at my job and to meet people out there and to meet somebody. I just gone through a couple of really bad breakups at the time. So my other part of that is like, I want, my housewife and kids, the typical what most people want.
Okay. Right. So you're 22, brand new to Arizona, starting the first job of your career field.
My actual career field.
And so you're thinking long term, I want to meet a girl, get married, have children, progress in this profession.
Right.
So what did progression look like in the profession? So what was the dream at that, when you're 22, you look 20 years into the road, what was that dream? What did that look like?
Honestly, couldn't tell you. I didn't know at the time. Like, honestly, just starting, because that field in particular, I had never really explored or gave any thought about before. And the original dream when I was in college and high school was I was going to take my HVAC from high school and put it together with my mechanical engineering degree. And basically, this sounds like a really weird dream, but design HVAC systems. That was like I don't know if that's like my dream, but that was like, oh, I did this and I really liked it, and I'm doing this and I really like it. So let's put the two together, and I'm going to design these systems for companies or, commercial or whatever the case may be. Right. I'm not terribly far off from that currently. But that was kind of like the idea. The commissioning world and what I do now, I honestly had no aspirations other than I just wanted to learn as much as possible because I didn't really know anything about it. I didn't know what a data center was until I started that internship, basically.
See, so I think you might have found the antidote to a midlife crisis. So, antidote to a midlife crisis for all of you in your 20s, just have no dreams.
Yeah.
No dreams,
no expectations.
No expectations. No goals. And you will not have a midlife crisis.
So, yeah, I mean, my goals were just very abstract. It's not like I didn't have any. It was just like, even now, right? They are goals that kind of come out of each step that I take. I like take a step and then I'm like, oh, here are like, 10 more goals that I can like have for myself in the future.
So your midlife crisis might actually be a looking back and saying, I have done absolutely nothing exciting and spontaneous in my life.
Well, I will say, I guess to add to that, there is one thing that like comes to mind. So, one of my really good friends of mine, he is a very spontaneous travel type person, right? And one of the things that I did want to be able to do is I wanted to be in a financial situation where if I wanted to take spontaneous travel, I could do that. And the travel didn't necessarily need to be limited to, oh, I'll go see my family for Christmas, right?
Yeah, screw those people.
I could take big trips. When I first moved out to Arizona, one of those things inside of that travel was I want to be financially independent enough to be able to, if I want to take a flight for a weekend to go see my family or whatever the case may be, or the friends that I left, I can just do that. And I don't have to think twice about it. So I guess there were some like goals financially that would put me in places and things that I want to do, but I didn't have any specific like career goals. I just wanted to be good at whatever I was doing. I didn't really care what it was, just as long as I was good at it.
Okay.
And learned what I could about it.
So what's your greatest adventure that you're looking forward to doing?
So on my 40th birthday, that friend that I told you about, his name's Cade. So Cade and I made an agreement probably about 5 years ago or so, right around when I first started my career, not long after that, that when I turned 40, him and I would go, and there's like this huge trip that you can take to Antarctica. And you can go and camp down there. And they provide all of like the equipment, supplies, like they're not really tents, but like where you're going to be camping and all of that stuff. And it's like
on the ice.
Yeah, on the ice. And it's like $60,000, right, to do this whole trip, because it's like this whole thing where they provide you with the private flight, and like you go down there and you like go look at shit and like just go
on
to
the ice.
Yes, on the ice. Correct.
White people shit.
And obviously there's very few people that can say that they've been to Antarctica.
Right.
That's why it's so expensive, right? Because it's not like it's just, oh, let me book a Delta flight down there. So that's one of the things when I'm 40, that's what we talked about doing. So that is one of my, like, in the back of my head, I think about like what I need to make that happen.
Okay.
So, and he'll be, I don't even know. I don't want to screw it up, because if he watches, he might get upset. 50-ish at the time.
Oh, okay.
Somewhere around that.
So he's older than you.
Yeah, he's older than me. Yeah. So, yeah, 50-ish, yeah.
Tell you what, when that time comes, give me a call, and I'll let you know where to send the postcard.
Got it. I'll give you a call and let you know, did we make it to Antarctica? Yes or no?
Yeah. You're welcome to invite me. I'm not going. You could pay my way. I'm not going. It just sounds really cold.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be cold, right? It's just about the thing. It's more about I did this and how many people could say they actually did this, and less about like the trip. Because I mean, honestly, you're going to fucking walk out there. It's going to be ice and snow and shit. I mean,
how did Brandon die? He got killed by a polar bear in Antarctica when he was 40.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, that's one of the things. So as far as that goes, I would like to get to the point to where I'm independent enough to be able to say, hey, I'm going to Antarctica, or I'm going to go do this thing, and I can just kind of do it and take that risk. And it's
just you and just the two of you and the team that's guiding you, or
I think
this you're going to bring like the wife and the kid and.
Well, definitely not the kids. I mean, I guess that's a good way to get rid of them. But I mean, I've told Gabby about this, like that we could, like that she can go if she wants to go.
Mm-hmm.
But I think she's on the same mindset of like, yeah, you have fun.
So she basically says white people.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly.
All right.
So we'll see.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to your midlife crisis to see what it looks like. I have a
too.
feeling it's going to be tame.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. That's my goal.
And you're going to look at your life and you go, could be worse.
Right. Look at one of our friends and like, well, I could have ended up like that guy.
Yeah, you're gonna have a friend that goes through a significant midlife crisis, and you're just gonna live vicariously through him. If I was in that situation, I had a good friend going through a midlife crisis, I'd just be feeding him all kinds of outlandish ideas. Because I'm a bad friend in that regard.
Oh gosh. Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe I'll give you guys an update.
Yeah. I tell my buddy,
Probably not.
you know what? You need to go to Bangkok.
Yeah, there you
Get
go.
yourself a girlfriend in Bangkok.
Gosh. Be like a hangover.
Yeah. Exactly right.
Alrighty. Well,
So
we're at the end life crisis of this episode.
yeah, that was the midlife crisis. That's my take on it. That's what I did.
Yeah. Tell us what you guys think you're gonna do in your midlife crisis if you're not there yet. And if you already had it, tell us how it went.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah. And if you're the survivor of somebody's midlife crisis,
If you have a
please let
good
us know.
story.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have a good story, please let us know. All right. Thank you guys for watching.
Peace be the journey.